All right, I'll call the January 11th meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. And first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, leave the microphone. Okay. All right, we probably should end up doing introductions. I'm Fred McGarry with the Board of Selectmen, and Dick?
Richard Pittman.
Cindy McHugh.
Alden Dill.
White Barnes.
And then we also have two very long-term former selectmen with us, Andy Robertson and Jeff Shute, and the police chief.
And the police chief, yeah.
And they were both on the last building committee as well, so they want to keep helping us. Thank you for coming in, guys.
And just a little background, at least for you guys anyways. We had a previous architect had put together a cost estimate for a building across the street. And the estimate for that was about $2.5 million. Members of the board were a little bit concerned with that cost. And someone had mentioned, well, gee, you guys familiar with what they did in Farmington? So they had built a public safety building, police and fire there. So Andy had gone over and checked Farmington and found out that they ended up doing it by a design-build concept. And we went and spoke with Groen Construction, who was the contractor for that particular project. And so it gave us a little background with regard to the design-build project. And I think the board pretty much felt that the design-build concept was the way for us to go. And so that's how we got to the point where we are. We, of course, as you're familiar with, we put out the RFQ, and you and Ekman were the only ones who responded. And the board liked your package that you put together, and just felt that we should sit down and talk to you. And prior to going to the town meeting and getting the vote for proceeding with the design. We won't have to. We're not we're not even anticipating. We're not going to go for a bond issue on this. We figure we can get it without. If we can get it, we won't have to go through the bond issue. However, it certainly would be necessary with regard to the construction. But that gives you some background. And any board members want to elaborate any further on what I've said? Okay.
Yeah, so it's obviously kind of tight for this year, time-wise, so thanks for getting in what you guys got in, because that had to come fast. And yeah, there's no way we're going to get this all done by March, so hopefully we can, get that approved and get moving for next year. The school is also doing we were discussing before you came in, the school's doing a big bonded question this year too, so there is some other stuff going on in town as well.
But we do have put forward a bond issue, not a bond, a warrant article for the design costs. We do have a small amount of money remaining from the previous vote that we had. So that would be put together with a vote on the warrant. And assuming that passes, we certainly have enough money to cover the total design costs. So I figure probably you guys want to give background on your two firms and experience with the design build and how you envision the proceeding with the project. You're going to have to probably put you over at the microphone over there at the table.
I thought you would lead on this one.
There's two seats there.
Two seats, yeah. I want to mention, too, that Jonathan used to live in town, and he served on the planning board with me a few years ago. Right, John?
Long time ago.
Well, again, thank you, and we're honored to be able to present, and would be honored to be part of the team to help you accomplish the goal of getting the updated police station here in town. So, Jonathan and I, Warren Street Architects and Hutter Construction, have teamed up on tens, if not close to 100 different projects, in various ways. Most of them have been on a design-build type of a contract agreement with the client, such as yourself. So we're prepared to learn more, about the need, the details. I know Jonathan here is taken from our team is more intimate knowledge of the project and the need here than I personally have, but we support each other well in, providing for those needs, him on the design and the consultant side, and myself and my team on the construction side, so.
John, you want to give,
So Warren
Background
Street is 32 years old. We've been in Concord for that long. We're an architectural firm of 12 people, 6 architects. As Lars said, we've done hundreds of projects with Hutter in the last 30 years. A few things, we did all of Horseshoe Pond, that whole development in Concord. We did the Epsom Medical Building. I'm trying to think of some things that you might, have reference to. Exit 16, the Foundry Business Site, those 3 buildings, which are partly Concord Hospital. We're a practice that does, we've done fire stations, police stations, we've done a lot of municipal work. We're currently working with Rockingham County doing the new municipal complex that's going to be out on the farm there. That's an 85,000 square foot building, just shy of $55 million. We do a lot of work for Concord Hospital. We've been a practice that does a little bit of everything, which I think is a benefit to you. I think if I can speak briefly about your project, I know a little bit about it, helping John write the RFP. This project has some challenges. I mean, it's no different than any one of us wanting to buy something in today's market where nothing is on the shelf, everything are long lead items, and the cost of construction today is headed straight to the roof. So it's going to be a challenge day one. I know that you have not picked a site yet, and I think that honestly the solution here, to quote an old friend that used to work for Lars, it's about three different aspects of this project: quantity, quality, and budget. And you can have 2, and you're going to compromise on the 3rd. So for most part, how much square footage you want, and you have an idea that you don't want to be over $2 million. The solution is going to be, what type of building can we build to give you the amount of area that you want for the dollar, for the price tag that you guys can support. And it may be something other than what you guys have conceived of today. I mean, it might not be a freestanding building. I'll just throw it out, not knowing what I don't know. Maybe it's an addition to this building. I'm just saying, I think in order to meet the goals that you guys are going to establish for this project, I think we have to have an open and honest dialogue of how do we get there. So I'll leave it there, and you guys can ask some questions.
Just, as far as the experience goes, is we do work with a lot of public, entities to come up with those solutions, whether it's, towns, cities, hospitals, there's a lot of times where we're the extension of the hospital engineering departments that, you're always trying to come up with solutions, and we've worked through many of those. We're doing it with Sig Sauer right now on, multiple projects as they continue to grow and have demand. Hutter Construction's finishing up a major project for the Rochester DBW. We're finishing up a fire station for Bill Ricca, North Acton. So we're actively, in pricing and performing, these type of projects, on a regular basis, so.
Okay, let's see, I've got a couple of items here. We had a preliminary site plan done for the site across the street.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, the total cost on that was estimated at 2.5 million, and the estimate was prepared, I guess it was last year at this time. Of that, is about 450,000 was estimated for the site work, and I guess from my standpoint, if we can find another site that we could use that would not have such a high site work cost, that would obviously would be a savings for the overall project, and could end up putting some extra features in there that maybe we might otherwise have to cut out. And so there are, I had talked with John with regard to a couple of other possible locations, and would you guys be able to sit down with the committee and the Board of Selectmen to evaluate some of these on a conceptual basis, obviously not a full-blown design basis, but a conceptual basis as to whether what we want to be able to do could fit on these couple of 2 or 3 other sites that we might be looking at.
Absolutely.
So the short answer is yes. Also, to support that is Hutter Construction does have a site work division that we then have the total stations and the ability to review and collect some data, and minimal amounts to be able to support you in that, venture. So.
Good. One of the questions I end up having, I had anyways, is with regard to the overseeing the construction. Obviously, Jonathan and his firm would be preparing the plans for the building, and would be establishing basically through those plans of a level of quality that would be going into this building. How do we, or how in the design-build projects that you've worked with, how does the client know that what those original design plans are calling for are actually going into the building? Would we have to hire our own separate engineer to just basically to oversee the construction, or what would be the approach?
Well, I would say first and foremost is, from my seat right on through, the highest level integrity is always right, what is spoken, what is practiced, and demonstrated through everything that we do, first and foremost. But there would be regular opportunities through the meetings, through the communications, right from the submittal process through the final inspections, that you would have every opportunity to have input and be able to view and inspect. Many projects do have either OPMs, owners, project managers, or third-party inspectors that they get involved. So would be certainly willing to talk through any of those solutions to bring the comfort to, the town that they're getting what they're intended to. So
I think the challenge here is that the actual construction is so far out. And I'm not speaking for Lars, I'll let him chime in on this, but a lot of what we're hearing now is that subs will only hold a number for a very short period of time. Days.
most of them are 7 days. So.
Right.
7 days. So our practice working with Hutter is basically we put everything on the drawings. You know what you're buying. If it's VCT flooring or carpet or, vinyl base, whatever, it's documented on the drawings. In my opinion, hiring an OPM or a clerk of the works is the cost of a Sally port. So, you have to make that decision. I believe that with the communication and the meetings and the things that are scheduled and how I know that Hutter works, I think that you, Fred, are more than qualified, on a bi-weekly meeting to show up and say, where do we stand, what are we doing? Everything that's required by code, special inspections, rebar placement, all of that goes through a testing company, all of that is in place. Honestly, in today's practice, it's totally a comfort. I personally think it's a waste of money. I think that, you guys, Fred, as an engineer, have seen more than this in your lifetime. Showing up and walking around, and their construction sites are always open. You're the owner, you can come in, you can review the shops, you can review everything. This is not something where, when you get to a point, and again, I'm not speaking for Lars, but when we get to a point of actually signing an agreement to do the construction, he will have bought this job out. You're getting what's on the drawings. This is not like, oh, we get down the road and we can't afford carpet.
Right.
That's not how design build works.
And I guess one other question I had was, we have a deliberative session that's going to be coming up February 10th? 5th. And would both of you be able to take and attend that deliberative session just to provide information and tell the voters how the design build approach works?
Mhm.
Sure.
Good.
It's a Saturday. If that matters.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, myself or one of my teammates certainly would be
Mhm.
able to support it, so depending on the schedule.
That covers my questions. Alden.
Just a couple quick ones. When we were flipping through, you guys do some very large jobs. Do you do smaller jobs on this scale for
Absolutely,
municipalities? Do you have any?
We're a small New Hampshire contractor, as is saying the community. It's a state. It's a small community. Yes, we've grown and been blessed to the point that we do $100 million in contracts every year. Some of that is made up of larger contracts, but we pride ourselves with whether it's a custom home for a repeat customer, a project for a local town, or the major project. It is one of the single largest investments that Deerfield's going to be doing, and we understand that, and we try to, the best that we can, put ourselves in your seat and make sure that we're accomplishing what we would expect from the other side. So you would get a project manager that would be be focused on this project. The superintendent would be full-time to that project during the construction schedule, and be dedicated to making sure that the job is done right and done well.
Alden?
Obviously, we have to pick a location first, and that's going to take some time. Say we pick a location, what do you just estimate timeline on design after we pick a location? 3 months, 6 months, roughly?
The benefit that you have here with Warren Street and Hutter, having worked together for so long, it really comes down to your comfort level. If you ask me if we're gonna stand back and we're just gonna design something, issue a set of drawings, he prices it, 4 to 5 months. If you said, and I know that you gotta do a bond vote the following year, so, but the ability here is if you decided you wanted to do some work up front or something like that, the relationship is such that we could fast track something. We have projects right now that we're talking about ordering steel 6 months before the design is done, simply because steel has 12, 18-month lead times. We could do that here. But there's, I'm assuming that you're gonna take this through the normal permitting, even, a courtesy with the town and go through that whole process? Is that?
As
no?
far as the building permit and stuff?
Well, the whole permitting process.
The
We're gonna
process
do a
itself.
Yeah.
civil
Review and
design,
everything.
We'll go through the review and,
Yeah, I think probably would, although from the planning board standpoint, the town is exempt from the requirements, it would probably, from a standpoint of public relations, it would be a good idea to go through regular site plan review.
and I don't know who reviews your plans for you, if it's Central New Hampshire?
Southern New Hampshire is involved, and Keach Nordstrom it does the engineering review.
Okay. So we go through that whole process. That alone is 3 months right there, you know? So we need to pick a site, do an analysis, get the civil done, take that through. I mean, if you get approval in March, we let the snow melt, we do a survey on a site come April, May. You're doing a design, May, June, July, you get approvals. August, we start the concept, we start the building design. You know, we can do it as fast as you can make decisions. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
If a lot of what you already know can be documented right up front, we can run right into construction drawings and, you know, have this done by early fall. And then it's a matter of putting a price together, giving you a GMP, with some understandings here, because the market is a mess, as to how do you hold that until March or April of the next year.
Could you explain the GMP concept?
Mhm. Yeah, so, you know, we'd be working alongside Warren Street. TF Brand is who we had, you know, reached out to and got, carried some values for the civil and the structural design. So, you know, we would be working closely with them in that process. And then as soon as that scope was defined through, you know, the approval process, any special conditions, and then the design, we then would go out to a select, you know, number of subcontractors and suppliers, as well as do takeoffs in-house and use historical data, you know, to compare and to check our numbers with. And then we would come up with a value to build that project. Typically, depending on the level of details, there's a contingency, you know, that's anticipated. Is there, you know, if there's gonna be inflation in costs or, you know, any type of materials, and we would then submit that to you and hold that number, so.
That's sorry for the, using the initials, but a guaranteed maximum price.
Yes, yes.
That's what it ended up being. Alden, you have anything else?
Actually, the budget committee asked me the other day, the number that you guys submitted for the design build, that's, again, the total price on the design build, right?
The total price on the design.
The pre-construction.
design.
That's what I meant,
Yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah.
for the end that we're currently
Right.
talking about.
Right.
Short of something that we don't know. I mean, if you decided that, I don't know,
We want to fill in a wetlands or something to build this thing, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, if there's any special permitting or anything outside of a normal process.
That's what I figured, but budget committee asked, so I thought I'd get the
No.
exact answer on that one.
Right.
Dick?
So this price covers whatever the chief needs for space as far as the different rooms and the cells and things like that?
Yeah, we're gonna sit with the chief and his staff and design I know there's already a plan that was developed last year.
Right, but every site's, depending on what site we pick.
Yep, I mean, we'll start with that program and refine that to your needs, you know? Yep.
Thank you.
You have anything, Joy?
Yeah, if we visited another site with you, how long would it take for you to put some general concept ideas together for us relative to that site, particular site?
If you give me a site,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so explain to me what you're, when you say a concept,
Well, you mentioned earlier that you could do just some basic work to figure out, maybe site work costs, that sort of thing, without getting into a complete design. And if we walked you down the street and showed you a particular spot and said, what do you think about this? How would this compare to across the street relative to site work?
So, if you gave me a site that had some kind of topography to it, whether it's GPS or USGS or something that I can, do a concept to, give me a couple of days, I can come up with a site plan that we can talk about. I would rely on Lars to go compare across the street that you gotta move a mountain to, should you find a site that's flat, we can, pretty quickly do a comparison of, one to the other.
Okay, and would you be able to do that more than once?
Couple weeks' time, probably, yeah.
Say again?
Would you be able to do that process more than one time if necessary? Say there were 2 other sites that we had in mind.
Within reason.
Yeah, okay.
My fee was competitive, knowing that we were gonna have one site and we're gonna go there.
Right.
If we wanna do some study of comparable sites, there might be more than 2 or 3, or, whatever that might be. I would just like fair on both sides.
Understood, sure.
Pay
Yeah.
my time, I'll pay, we pick a site and then I go.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I think we really have 2 or 3 areas we're thinking about now. So I think that's where you were going with that, right, Dwight? Just to, so we can have a knowledgeable comparison of those sites is where we're kind of.
So I think, what we're trying to be careful with is don't just say, well, I have this site. If we say, here's these 2 or 3 sites, we go spend one day
Yeah.
visiting, collect some information, and then we can look at each one of them over a week's time. That's, there's some fairness to there, and we can work something out with you. If we do an exercise on one site and then that we don't like the satisfactory results, and well, now let's go look at this site and let's go look at that site, it just starts to drag into a lot of people's time and efforts.
Are the potential sites fairly close to each other?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same road?
Yeah, they're very much
Same
nearby.
response times, all that kind of thing?
Yeah,
yeah.
the woods.
There's possibility in the back of this building. And another possibility is right down by the old town hall. And the area by the town hall, at least one portion, one site basically is relatively flat. And, which would probably mean, based on that original plan that had been prepared by the previous architect, we'd have to take and expand the size of the building to get the total square footage that we were looking for, but we wouldn't have 2 levels and be pretty much all on a single level. And out back here, I'm not quite sure what would end up having. I think we have a topographical issue out here, but I guess fully, having been in your position when I was in consulting, if you start looking at 2 or 3 different sites, it's particularly of any detail, it's going to start costing money, and it's only fair to be compensating you for looking at additional
Just that I
sites.
don't know what I don't know. So
Right,
I don't know if
exactly.
there's anything special that the department has that, whatever it might be.
But I think it would be incumbent upon us to give you these narrow down the number of sites that we're going to be looking for, and say, okay, this is the 2 sites that we want to look at.
Yeah, so one exercise, you look at both sites and
Yeah,
have some discussion with the police department and, whatever those needs are, so.
exactly. Jeff or Andy or Chief, do you have any questions? Jeff?
The design build side is just a little nervous to me. We just want to make sure chief gets what he wants, not what you guys want to give him or what fits the budget. I've done some design build, but mostly conventional way, so that would be my only hesitation.
Mhm.
Jeff, you used to be with, in fact, you still are, right?
Part-time, yeah.
Part-time, with the Public Works for the DOT.
Mhm. Our motivation would be to get the client what they want, not what we want to deliver them. At the same time, we will be transparent and real and open book of here's what the costs are to get there, so,
Those are all decisions you make.
right.
And obviously,
We will deliver what we present, when you just make that decision, so.
And obviously, the $2 million is, I don't think is cast in concrete. That if you come back and say, well, the only thing we can do for $2 million is a steel building, we may end up saying, nah, I don't think so.
Right.
And, but that's, am I correct that the other board members feel that we're not absolutely bound by $2 million?
We have enough shortcut buildings already.
Yeah, right.
No, I will share with you a quick story, though. This goes back probably 15, 20 years ago. Hutter and Warren Street did the Webster Public Safety Building. And they hired Warren Street separately the first year, came up with their Christmas list, wish list. It was a $2 million design. At town meeting, they almost ran the chief out of the building. There was no way that they were even gonna take a vote. So in the infinite wisdom of the committee, they hired a second architect, nobody that you've talked to. And that Christmas list grew to almost a $3.5 million, and there was almost an insurrection. The third year, they came back to Warren Street and Hutter, and after a couple of very long and heated meetings and debates, we managed to cull down the entire conversation to everybody agreeing the only thing that was going to pass at that time was a project $1 under $1 million.
1
It
million?
was the criteria that they set. You can't hit that $1 million number, okay? And I don't know what the politics are here in Deerfield, but you need to take that into account, what is going to pass. I don't want to design a building that ends up a roll of drawings on a shelf somewhere. No sense to me or to you, but there is the politics behind here in terms of you've got competition with the school, you've got other things. When we talk about $2 million, maybe it's 2.2, maybe it's 2.5, maybe it's something less, I don't know, but the politics comes into play. And what happened in Webster is they got a pre-engineered metal building. They got 3 bays, drive-through, they got a police station with a sally port, they got everything quantity-wise that they wanted, but they got it in a metal building package. And I think Hutter delivered it for something like $980,000 at the time. It passed, but there was a meetings of the mind of the leadership in that town at that time that it was a waste of energy to do anything over and above $1 million. It just simply wasn't gonna pass. So I think that's the kind of conversation that needs to happen here.
Mhm.
That you guys need to be realistic about what it is, and part of that is where it's gonna be located and the pieces and parts that go through it. It's not up to me to tell me whether or not the chief has, a big office or a little office. He needs a functioning space. We can deliver all of that. It's the politics here. And Lars and I are both happy to come to the deliberative session. I don't know, is the question of the fees for the design build at
Yes,
risk at that meeting?
that's the Warren article to get the fee to go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Well, I'm just concerned when you get to the deliberative session, and is this an SB2 town?
Oh, yeah.
So, the question is, you ask the question, should it be design build or should it be a a public bid, or should it be a, you know, I think you guys have made a decision as to the direction that you want to go. Having a consultant try to explain that to the public and defend hiring me, it makes me nervous,
I
to
agree.
be honest.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
right.
Because you're asking the question, is this the right thing to do? When you
Yes,
guys have
we-
already come
yes,
to that
yes, we
decision.
believe so. We support your
Um,
decision.
I think what Fred was thinking is if they had questions as far as what you were gonna do compared to us trying to tell
And how the process works.
them more than,
Yeah.
but I don't blame you a bit with what you said, Jonathan.
No, I mean, we can talk through the process and we can come up with, but if it's just a sort of question and answer kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you just never know what.
I still think the
Comes up
first
to-
question will be that day is how much?
How much for the whole
Before we
building?
spend 150,000 on plans, how much are we, they're gonna wanna know, is it 1.85 or is it 2.1 or what?
Because they're not in a position
Yeah,
to be
we're
able to
not
say
gonna have
that.
that answer.
That's, I'm just saying that's gonna, to
Right.
have you guys ready.
Mhm.
Well, then there needs to be some conversation up front because we haven't designed anything, we haven't picked a
Yeah,
site, we
right.
haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So I've been in this position enough times that if you don't have an answer for all of this, saying I don't know doesn't work. you know,
Right.
Because people, if someone's gonna ask this, well, you're gonna come, we're gonna spend $200,000 this year for $2.5 million next year. We don't wanna spend $2.5 million. I don't know, again, I don't know what I don't know, so
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be some time and some,
Yeah, there
some
needs to be
conversation
some
about
conversation
how
and
we
discussion
go
to
about that.
prepare for that. I mean, it could be as simple as given historic values. Well, here's some historic numbers that, these projects or these police departments came in at so much a square foot, at your 7,400 square foot. That would look like, XXX, so.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of hard too, because we haven't had a major building, especially for the police department, of course, but we haven't had a major building on the town side in quite a while.
Been a major expenditure for 20, 25 years. I mean, since you closed the transfer station, that's the last major
Yeah.
expenditure this town has had.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell you historically. If you were coming in and bidding right now on a fire command vehicle, I'd tell you there's no way, but, because we haven't approved one of those in 10 years. But on the other hand, we approve other things. So it's really hard for us to be able to tell you historically how people are gonna vote on this. I'd like to think, last year the design passed pretty well, but it's hard to tell.
I think there's a strong community sense of the need for the building, whether there's going to be disgruntlement with the price or not. I think there's definitely a majority of the community that recognizes the need for police department or safety services
Mhm.
building at this point.
Yeah.
It's been demonstrated by recent votes on smaller parts of it, but
My hesitancy is that I'm a consultant coming in from the outside. I have no connection to the community. Another quick little story. Our office worked with the town of Litchfield for 15 years. I worked through 3 different fire chiefs. It failed 4 times. It was an SB2 deliberative session when there were probably 300 people in the room, and one older gentleman, clearly in his 80s, was sitting in the front row, and about, half an hour into the conversation, he stood up and lost his mind. He basically told everybody in that room, enough is enough. We could have bought this station for $2 million 15 years ago. It's $4 million today. We need the station. It needs to pass. He had enough respect in that room. Everybody followed suit. It only passed by 6 votes. But it was he was, call it the old guy from Litchfield that everybody knew, and they felt he was telling the truth. And I think that's something you should take to heed here. I don't know who that is here in Deerfield. It might be you, Fred, I don't know, but I'm just saying,
Well, I've not hit the 80 threshold yet, so.
Not quite
No,
the old guy yet.
But
if
people
that's your
need to
call.
understand that, you know, you've been down this road several times.
Mhm.
You looked at it, you viewed it, you know, this is what it's gonna, and it's never gonna get cheaper.
No.
It's not. It's just, that would be my recommendation. I'm happy to support whoever that person is, but I think that story that we can help put together needs to be told by somebody that everybody knows in that room.
Mhm.
If only we knew two former selectmen that have been involved with this stuff.
Do you want to make a motion?
I think I'd probably have the public hearing and a deliberative session at the same date.
So just for the deliberative, I think, to be helpful, we're not selling a project yet, we're trying to get money for a design.
Mhm.
So maybe to justify your fee, you know, why is it 100,000 and not 200 or 100 instead of 50?
Mhm.
What are we getting for it? I think you gotta sell that, and then understand that in the future, we're gonna come back with a number to build it.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough, I can put something together.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the stuff today, I mean, I'm doing a project in Concord, and I can't get roof insulation till July. Who knows what the price is gonna be? So you can't put a real number to this project.
No, I don't think we
Especially 'cause
should
we haven't-
either, the way things are.
And we haven't picked a site.
Right. So I think justifying what we're
Sure.
asking for is more.
The services, yeah.
important than justifying the building. I think we all know the justification for that.
Yeah.
You guys have any other questions for us?
Well, you stated you're on a tight time frame, so what is your next steps and your plans?
Well, obviously, the vote in March, and
Mhm.
assuming that we go with that, then we're anticipating that we'd then have the vote for the actual construction cost in March of '23, so.
What are you doing in preparation for the vote in March?
So far, we haven't done, well,
We've done this.
basically selecting you folks, yeah. And I don't know what.
I mean, the key to any successful project is communication, and, you know, that I think there's gotta be certainly some emphasis put on that so that they're not surprised at the deliberative session by
Right.
the request. But
Yeah.
Is the deliberative session at the school? Where is that,
You know, be at the Deerfield Fairgrounds.
at the fairgrounds?
Yeah. Hopefully, we won't have a day that's as cold as today, but,
COVID spacing is the reason.
Right.
Okay. I'm just
In-
thinking it might be better to do a handout or something that,
Yeah.
I can talk with you about
Mhm.
what you want from us.
mhm.
Are we before the school or after the school? Before?
School is doing theirs at the school.
No, no, no,
Different
no.
day.
Different,
Yeah.
I'm saying, are we coming?
School is on the 12th,
Okay.
And we're on the 5th.
correct.
Okay.
I was hoping we were after the school so we'd seem cheaper.
Yeah, right.
No, other than that, we're good.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for the team here? No?
They did a good job, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming
You're
in.
welcome.
Just wanted to mention
Business
too,
cards
that
you could leave?
What's that?
Yes.
You have business cards you could leave us?
Want to mention
I did
too,
not
that
bring-
Jonathan and I had worked together on the design on the North Conway wastewater treatment plant. And,
30 years ago.
yeah, it was 30 years ago, wasn't it?
And it's still working.
Still working, yeah. Yeah, we got some awards on the architectural design on the building, and, or buildings, I should say.
I did not bring mine.
That's fine. We can figure out how to get in touch with you.
I can email it to you if you want.
That's okay. They just end up in my giant pile of cards that I'll never look at.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you.
We need to adjourn. Someone will need.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for coming
We
in.
want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lars, nice meeting you.